Back in 2010, towards the end of 2010, when we signed up for the conditions for the bailout from the International Monetary Fund, the European Central Bank, and the Commission of the European Union, there was a lot of talk about having lost our economic sovereignty. And it's quite understandable, because it seemed as if we were handing over the management of our economy, and indeed our whole country, to a troika of outside institutions. Of course, the reality was more complex, because this program that we entered into at that time was in fact negotiated between our government, our central bank, and those international institutions in the troika. And we agreed, and we had some influence on the content of the program. So it wasn't a simple surrender to the conditions imposed on us from outside. But nonetheless, there was a sense in which we admitted failure to manage our economy in a competent way that would have maintained the confidence of the world bond markets in particular in our ability to raise enough revenue from domestic taxes to match the expenditure that we felt we had to incur in order to meet the demands of our population for public goods and services and public infrastructure. Now, it is important that we try and regain economic sovereignty in the sense that we will be able to go to the world money markets and raise enough money to close the gap between our tax revenue and our public expenditure at acceptable interest rates that will not imply an upward spiral of the burden of debt to our domestic product, because that would be an unsustainable and indeed intolerable situation, that each year we were paying more in debt interest as a percentage of our output and getting no more in terms of public services or public infrastructure formation. So how do we do this? How can we restore economic sovereignty in that narrow and technical sense? Well, the main plank of the restoration of economic sovereignty will have to be adhering to the program that we have negotiated with the Troika. That is to say, meeting the targets that have been laid down between now and the year 2015, which essentially envisages that the Irish economy will manage its government spending and its tax receipts so that the gap between the two falls to a level of 3% by 2015. That implies harsh medicine in the form of more difficult, tough budgets. We've already been through 4 of these, but we still have a gap between revenue and expenditure just under 9% of GDP. And we have an urgent need to continue on the measures that we've been taking, implement the ones that we already have taken, and put more in place in order to get revenue up and receipts, expenditure down. We will be helped if there is growth in our economy, growth stimulated perhaps by growth in the European economy so that we can export more to the rest of the world, and growth perhaps by inward investment in Ireland in order to avail of the attractions we do have for foreign direct investment.